Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I know you're going to love this guest. It's a really juicy conversation. We have to have the deeper conversations here. That's what happens at Heal Your Hunger, and this interview is no exception because it's not about the food, right? It's not about the food. If you're at the Heal Your Hunger show for the first time and you want it to be about the food, please, this is not the show for you. Sorry, but this show is about what it's really about, okay? Because haven't you been dieting long enough? How many decades have you been on that dieting hamster wheel? I want you to get off and stay here with us if you'd like, if you feel inspired. I don't think you got here by mistake. So stick around and let's have a deeper conversation about why we're drawn to eat time and time again, even though we know better, even though we know our health is suffering, even though we know we deserve a better life. In theory, it's not what our actions play out or prove. Okay. So we have to have our actions match our intentions. And in order for that to happen, we have to explore what's really going on and heal that. Okay. Because I don't want you to be obsessed and compelled to overeat the rest of your life. What a miserable existence. I've been there. I know I was 50 pounds overweight because I was a food addict, addicted to food, eating over my emotions, burying my emotions, not expressing myself, and certainly not living at my very best as the bright, beautiful light God made me to be. So I want you to experience that bright, beautiful light all the time without dulling it with food. You ready? That's the conversation we're having here at Heal Your Hunger. So if you're ready for that, stick around. I want to tell you that I have an Instagram channel that I rarely talk about, but it's good. I have some really kind of fun and poignant videos on there, and messages and things that can just kind of support you on your journey of healing emotional eating. My handle is Tricia Nelson _ is the end at the end of Nelson. So Tricia Nelson _ and check it out. Please like it, right? Please follow and share with others. And then please join us in the Secret Sauce group, because that's where we continue the conversation. That's where, when we have announcements, we go there first with it. That's where you'll find other emotional eaters. So we're happy to have you join us at the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating on Facebook. Okay. And then we, of course, with the Heal Your Hunger Facebook page. So I'm excited to share this guest with you. She's a really good friend of mine. She's beautiful inside and out. But Dr. Misa Hopkins is a 6-time best-selling author and has been a pioneering thought leader in women's leadership and consciousness for nearly 30 years. Her popular She Academy teaches women leaders around the world how to apply 1,000-year-old feminine empowerment principles to heal the unhealable and awaken hidden potential. Misa has spoken on stages with some of today's most conscious luminaries, such as Dr. Bruce Lipton, Marianne Williamson, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Marcy Shimoff. She's currently featured in the documentary When Sparks Ignite and has made multiple appearances on network TV, and she's really just such a lovely soul, and this is a really lovely conversation. So let's dig in. Hey, Misa, so glad to have you here. Thanks for being on the show.
I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. I adore you. I adore your message. My audience loves your message. We're very aligned in the work that we do, in dealing with the deeper issues. So you have an amazing body of work, and you've been doing this work for a very long time. Can you talk about how you got into the work that you do?
Yeah, it's been about 30 years of doing this kind of work. And it started a long time ago. When I was a mess. Trish, I don't know if I've shared this story with you. So
no, I want to hear it. I think people need to hear it. So I'm excited we're doing this.
Yeah. So if you can imagine about 30 years ago, I'm standing in front of my bathroom mirror and tears are streaming down my face. And I'm a mess, right? Emotionally, I'm a mess. I get angry at the drop of a hat. I'm depressed. My body aches all over. My whole body aches. And my relationship, everything's a mess. And I've had it for 7 years. I've been going to doctors. Nobody has a diagnosis for me. Nobody knows what's wrong. And I'm standing here at the bathroom mirror, looking at this woman, trying to get ready to go shopping with my girlfriend. And I look at her, and out of somewhere, I don't know where, I said to her, "You are going to heal if I have to do it my damn self. You are going to heal." And I finished getting dressed. I went out to the car where my girlfriend was waiting for me. And she said, "How are you doing?" And I told her the truth. And she started listing off my symptoms one at a time. "How do you know this? How do you know it?" And she said, "Well, Misa, it's hormonal." Now, you have to remember, 30 years ago, we didn't have the body of knowledge about hormone dysfunction that we have now.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? We didn't have it. And she said, "There is an endocrinologist an hour away from you who treats women all over the world. Go see him. He's the one who helped me. He can help you."
Aw, good friend.
We're talking 10 minutes from the time I make the declaration in my bathroom to the moment that I get in the car. I've been handed the gift of a solution. And when I went to see him, very hopeful this time, after I don't know how many doctors I'd been to, what we discovered is that I was producing as much testosterone as a teenage boy. So literally, my female organs were beginning to atrophy.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of my journey in really recognizing that, as it turned out, underlying trauma was behind it all. I remembered, after I'd done a whole ton of emotional body healing work, that I had been sexually abused around the age of 4 or 5. And my little brain decided it wasn't very cool to be a woman. So about the time, it wasn't safe, right? So about the time that we're talking about having kids, my body starts changing its hormonal balance so that I can't. Yeah. So years.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. It is amazing what the body will do in response to a traumatic event and a belief.
Yeah.
Right? With it, this isn't safe. And so my body was trying to protect me that whole time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I know you work with women with trauma, and is the hormonal part, that's not your zone of genius, right? You're not a medical person, but you can you talk about how you healed and how you teach other people how to heal?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the discoveries that I needed to make along the way, and did, is that I'm a highly sensitive and empathic woman. I process a great deal of life through my emotional body. So at that tender little age, I was processing through my emotions, right?
Yeah.
So my reactions to anything out of balance in my world was a very strong and powerful emotional reaction. And I identified with other people's feelings very quickly. So do my clients.
Yeah. So do the people listening.
Yeah,
Emotional eaters. Hello.
Yeah. I'm sure they're going to relate to this list. Can be overwhelmed by other people's feelings as well as your own. Can easily imagine what other people are feeling, right? You're watching a newscast and you think, "Oh, those poor people." And all of a sudden you're in their reality.
Right.
You're physically sensitive, maybe in touch, or you pick up people's thoughts, or you hear things, or you see things quickly. Maybe you see truth real quickly that other people don't. You're emotionally responsive to difficult situations. Your emotions kick in. You tend to avoid conflict in order to keep the peace, unless you are the conflict maker. I'm in charge, right? We tend to be codependent. We tend to people please, right? Because we just want to keep the emotional landscape even, and we want to be in control of how we're navigating it. And those are the beautiful, amazing women that I work with. They're highly sensitive, and they're learning how to be with their sensitivity in whole new ways.
Yeah, boy, you totally describe the people who are, typically are emotional eaters, and we do all that, right? And most of us have trauma from our past, much of which is sexual abuse. So, so you talk a lot about ancient wisdom, and you use ancient wisdom did you use that in your healing journey as well as what you teach others on their healing journey?
Yeah, I was so blessed, Tricia. At one point, I'd done a lot of my emotional healing, and I had this prayer to the universe. It was, there has to be a feminine path of awakening and enlightenment. There has to be, because everything I was doing was working to a point, but not getting me to those states of consciousness I wanted to be in. And doggone it, Tricia, I'd earned the right. I had done so much emotional body work. I had earned the right. And I was gifted this amazing, amazing medicine bowl. And with that gift came these 1,000-year-old teachings in feminine consciousness. And
wait. You were gifted a bowl, like a physical bowl. And with that came what?
The ancient teachings came with the gift. When you receive a medicine gift, that usually there are ancient teachings that go with it. And that was the case for me.
But how did they come to you?
They come to you in dreams and visions.
Okay. All
so
right.
The ancestors start, well, and it helps to be highly sensitive and empathic.
Yes. Yeah.
Through, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they were coming to me in my dreams, my visions, and I was receiving these teachings.
And did you know they were connected to the gift?
Yeah, I did. I
Okay.
absolutely did. It took me a few years to actually sit down with it and open it up and open to receiving it. But when I did, they came through. So, Tricia, I did what seemed normal to me. I taught that to my best friend. Hey, I'm learning this very cool meditation practice we call holding, which is holding yourself in compassion. And so she started working with it. And within 3 months, I get a phone call. It's gone. It's gone. I said, what's gone? She said, that debilitating depression that I've had. She had, it was really passed down through her family line, right? Hereditary depression. She'd been struggling with it for decades. And she said, I watched it lift out of my body.
Beautiful.
Said, really? So I dug in a little deeper and started working with an old childhood issue and was holding it in this meditative practice. And same thing happened, Trish. I literally watched the energy leave my body. So I get on the phone. It's gone. Now I know what you're talking about, girl. And she said, what? And I said, I don't remember what it was. It was so gone from my consciousness. So I started teaching this meditation to women who wanted to release themselves from the traumas of their childhood, the traumas of their past, the things they've inherited from their families. And other women started having the same experiences, traumas completely gone within a matter of months of going into this deep, deep state of self-compassion.
Sweet. I love that. And isn't that the only way, right? Like we are so hard on ourselves and critical and blame ourselves for the reactions that we have that are purely self-protective, especially when you're a child. So I love the self-compassion. That's so beautiful. Yeah. So you talk a little bit more about, is this the same work you do now? Or I know you've done so much and you train other people, so can you talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, this is exactly what we do. We teach women, primarily coaches, healers, therapists, right? Who are healers, who are if I didn't say that. I don't know, maybe I said it twice, but anyway, people who are in service to others, who know they need to do some of their own work a little more deeply. You know how it goes. You'll have a client and they're triggered in such a way, that you need to be able to go a little deeper with them. That's what we're discovering. So one of the things that we found as we started going deeper into this work and teaching others is that the soul itself has emotional needs. The soul has emotional needs. We will often really get after ourselves as empathic and sensitive women for how these emotions that we feel need to be met, right? And we look to the outside world to fill them, whether it's food or it's a relationship, whatever we're doing, we're looking for the outside to meet it. It doesn't work. But what the ancestors showed me is that the soul itself comes in for certain emotional experiences on earth. So the soul has emotional needs. Some of them didn't get met when we were little that needed to be met. And we try to get them met as adults. And it doesn't work because we keep looking for it to happen elsewhere outside of ourselves. So let me give you an example. The age of 4 to 7, the emotional need of the soul at that age is to want to feel appreciated, to know that your talents matter, that you're valued, you make your community stronger, right? And if that need wasn't met, you might feel rejected. You might feel abandoned. You might feel unworthy. We call these the 3 fears of separation. But that need has to be met. It's not a dysfunction. It's a function of the soul, right?
Okay.
So in my case, years before, I had wanted my husband to appreciate me, my first husband, and he couldn't make choices that demonstrated to me that I felt appreciated. And I was trying to get it met through him. I wasn't emotionally strong enough or wise enough to know I needed to give it to myself.
Right.
So we work with these emotional needs and we discover there absolutely is a way to fulfill them for ourselves.
And that's a much better way to go.
Yeah, a whole lot better. And then the world reflects it, right? You've already fulfilled yourself and now the world is reflecting it. And I know my clients, it's so unfair. And it is. It is. You were looking for those needs to be met when you were little by someone else, but they couldn't do it. So you can wait forever hoping somebody does it, or you can get in there. Get in there.
Yeah, that's so much of a better way to go, because in the process of trying to get them from other people, we sell our souls, right? So we're selling out all the time, hoping like, will you please give me what I need? And it puts us in a position, right, to not be true to ourselves. And that, of course, creates a whole nother level of trauma.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well said. And as sensitives and empathics, some of us will try to shut down our emotions. Right.
That's a big part of what eating is about.
Is that the emotions are now shut down, right?
Yeah.
So got to fill that need in some way, right? And as sensitives and empathics, we can't bypass the emotional body. We don't get to do that. We don't get to have big spiritual highs or moments of awakening and bypass the emotional work, because we can't feel love if our emotions are closed down.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I love that you're saying that, because I do find women who are like, give me the diet. Like, I just want to deal with the food. I don't want to acknowledge it's a deeper issue, emotional issue. And I definitely don't want to deal with those emotions. So let's just pretend it's about food. And let's just pretend if we focus and obsess on the symptom, we're going to be happy. And it's just, I wish I could just really impart to people, no, the happiness comes from clearing these wounds, right? Clearing and going there, looking with support. You can't go there alone, but with support, it's such a juicy, worthwhile endeavor.
It changes your whole life, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I know my gals get afraid. I would imagine some of yours do too, that I'm going to have to relive the trauma or relive the pain. And that's where the practices in self-compassion matter, because no, you don't have to relive it. I hear all kinds of voices out there about how you have to go in there, and I've just never found that to be true.
Yeah, or go to 20 years of therapy or something.
If we find that depth of compassion that we so generously give to everybody else, there's enough compassion there for us. There's a whole divine world of compassion, the whole universe of it. There's certainly plenty there for us. And that compassion, when we're holding that trauma in compassion, the trauma literally dissolves, unwinds, releases, and you're left with this beautiful feeling of love.
That's beautiful. How do you do that? Like, how do you find that for people who are super self-critical and self-judgmental and self-hating, right? We think we're doing it wrong all the time. We internalize everything, or, all the, whoever's mad out there, it must be at us because we're wrong, right? All the time. How do you turn that around?
Yeah, we actually hold the fear itself in compassion. And we do it this way. And this is the way I explain it. If at 4 years old, you felt as though you weren't appreciated, right? And so nobody appreciates me. I never seem to get acknowledged for what I do. The whole litany of things that I must have done it wrong. That's why I'm not being appreciated. Okay. So what we typically try to do is cut that crap out, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because it usually gets bigger, right? It expands. And as I share with my gals, here's the deal, sweetie. Would you really want to cut out of your life a 4-year-old who just wanted to feel appreciated? Of course not.
Right.
Our compassion would be wrapped around that little 4-year-old. I've got you, sweetie. I've got you.
Yeah.
So we go the opposite direction. We lean into it with compassion for the little girl who did not get what she needed. And we let her have what she needed in the internal worlds. It's all an internal process.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I remember my mentor said to me, in the early days, I was a serious binge eater. Like I would have the worst binges, where I would, pack away 2,000 to 3,000 calories in a sitting. And then I would hate myself. Like, it goes with the territory. You binge and then you hate yourself, as if binging wasn't hating yourself, right? So, or wasn't hurtful enough, right? You hurt yourself with food and then you beat yourself up for hurting yourself with food. So it's like a double trauma. But I remember he said to me, if you saw a little girl, like if you've got a highway, 2 different direction highway, and you have a median in the middle, and there's a little girl who somehow got out into that median and couldn't get out because there's traffic whizzing by, would you get angry at her? Like, she's lost. Would you get angry at her? And it's like you just said, no, you'd wrap her in your arms and tell her it's going to be okay. You're going to be safe, right? And that's what we need for ourselves.
It is what we need. And I love that story. I love that analogy because that is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Little girl who's traumatized, who's lost.
And food is her only solution. So it's, you can't blame her. She's doing what she knows, and the only thing that works so far.
And exactly. And for a child, it makes sense as a solution, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the one thing that feels safe and feels good.
Right.
I met a woman years ago who, in the work we did, it was obvious she'd been sexually traumatized. And what we pieced together is that after the sexual traumatization, she was given candy to keep her quiet. For heaven's sakes, of course, eating would become, right, a way to have solace. Of course it would.
Yeah.
And we need our hearts in this.
Yeah.
We need our hearts. That's what helps us heal. It's that compassion. And what we've found is that with especially the inner child work, and yes, we do incorporate inner child work, is that the reason a lot of women who come to us say programs don't work boil down to 2 things. Number one, if you're trying to repair that emotional wound in the outer world, as in, I'm going to go swing on a swing set, it won't work. As my teacher said, she lives inside of you.
Right.
She's in the inner worlds now. you aren't going to take care of her. As she said, if you didn't get a bike as a kid, and that meant being included with your friends, inclusion. All cars in the world are not going to replace the bike you didn't get. That trauma has to be healed internally. And the other is that very often we'll try to go in and fix the child. And that fixing, making the child fit your needs as an adult, feels like a re-traumatization.
Okay.
So we don't fix inner children.
Right.
We let them lead. They show us.
You're kind of saying they're wrong again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it won't heal. So we want to get in there and let them lead. They'll show us what they needed and how they needed it. And we can do all that great work in the inner worlds.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you do similar kind of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny because what we do is we kind of start people where they are, like people think when I talk about doing deeper work or healing from within, people do think, oh, to heal the underlying causes, you need therapy. And I'm not against therapy, but my experience is because we're dealing with eating and, there's logistics around food and you have to eat and that kind of thing. So we have some ways that people can start sort of calming down their nervous systems, calming down, kind of the whole violent relationship with food. So there's a lot of self-care involved, which sounds like compassion. Like you say self-compassion, and I'm hearing a lot of self-care, which is there's a lot of self-care with Heal Your Hunger, where people are learning to take care of themselves, right? So that they're not so stressed out, so they're not burning the candle at both ends. So it ends up being very self-compassionate, right? And that helps them turn the tide with the food and the binges and that kind of thing. And then they have tools which enable them to see more, like to go within, like it's hard to go there unless you feel safe, like you've been talking about, like you have to have the safety first. So I find that the self-care practices help people create safety within their own being so that the feelings that might have been buried can come to surface when they're meant to. Like we don't go digging for them, right? It's like when you're ready for them, when you feel safe enough, then they can emerge, and then you know what to do with them because you have new practices. You have a way to process them when they come up. So we don't do a deep dive into the past. It's sort of like we're unraveling, right? We're unraveling the defenses so that it's just easier to see what's there and they'd be prepared for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. We do something very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar in that, if you're not careful, if you try to go too fast, too deep, you'll just scare yourself off. But if you can find one thing that you actually feel you can be compassionate with, you've got to start. And yes, we've got to do it in the physical world for ourselves as well as in the inner world so that we've fully, completely supported.
Yeah. Super cool. Oh, I love this conversation, Misa. It's so great.
So.
Yeah, so fun. So you're doing cool things all the time. I'm always amazed, and I love seeing the things that you're doing. So can you talk about sort of what's a good way for people to start, learning about you, getting started, sort of being introduced to your world after hearing this?
Yeah, well, the primary practice that we do inside of She Academy is called the holding. And this is this 1,000-year-old meditation created by women for women to work through the challenges that we experience, whether that's hormonal, like mine, because they understood our emotions are moving with our hormones, there we go, or they have experienced some kind of trauma. Right. And a woman needs to be able to be present to that in a way that's meaningful. So we call this the holding meditation. And we have now given it to tens upon tens of thousands of women and men actually do the holding as well around the world. So the holding meditation gift is available, and you've got a link.
Ooh, that sounds amazing. I'm actually looking at the page right now. It looks so good. I want to do this. Okay, I'm signing up for this.
Yay.
Super cool. Well, we're going to have people, you can get this in the show notes. This is super cool. Thank you, Misa, for that. That's a really nice gift.
My pleasure. And it's the same exact meditation that I used and Ariane used.
Oh,
right?
wow.
She ended 15 years of chronic genetic depression. This is what she used. This is what I used to end the kind of trauma that I was healing that I can't even remember anymore. And I used the same meditation, by the way, to help heal cancer. So it's powerful. We have women using it for their emotional body needs. We also have women using it for their physical body needs.
Thank you for that. That's a nice gift.
Yeah, my pleasure indeed.
Yeah, and thanks for coming to talk about your work. It's so important. I am a big proponent, and I love your energy, and I love the work that you do and all the ways that you support women on their healing journey, and men, and some smart men. I always like to say women and a few smart men. So so it's really cool. So thank you so much for being here. I know we'll do more stuff in the future together, and but thanks for dropping in to share your message.
My pleasure, truly. And Tricia, as you know, I totally respect your work and love you and love the difference you're making in the world for all these amazing souls that find you. So I think you're super blessed.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I have one last question I almost forgot to ask you.
All right.
Is this being the Heal Your Hunger show, what is your deepest hunger?
Oh, okay. Little preface. I'm really blessed to feel a level of love and self-compassion all the time.
Nice.
It's always there. I should say always there. Yes, I have my moments, but it's always there. And there's a hunger in me to feel a higher level of bliss and joy as that undercurrent on a regular basis. So
ooh, I like that. That's nice. Why not? Why not max it out, right? Just keep growing that. Beautiful. Thank you so much, girl. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And love all you folks out there.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We love you so much.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.